we haven't recorded in a while because we did Disco Elysium all at once because we were so excited to keep doing it. Bear with us. We're going to get used to working together again for a little bit.
It's a tempestuous relationship.
Right. Don and I, we're ice and fire, baby.
Yeah.
But, guys, before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor, longtime supporter of the show, Ashley Luann Kay. You can follow her at the Minnesota Nurse on Instagram for some pretty cool nursing content there on Instagram. And we always just want to mention her because she's been a longtime supporter of the show, and she's been really good to us. But today, Don, I understand we have a very special episode.
Yeah, I actually played a game that wasn't Disco Elysium to completion. And you'll understand why. You'll understand like very, very quickly I have a type of game that I play nowadays. You know how Disco Elysium was, you're a detective with a really weird sixth sense and who won't shut up about the things he's obsessed about?
Right.
Well, it turns out that started a lot long. It was before, the cop was a Marxist-Leninist who wouldn't shut up about Marxism-Leninism. It was about an 80s cop who loves B-movies.
Right, and so I think your favorite genre of video game is video games made by people who like David Lynch.
Yeah,
I think is your favorite genre of video.
That or games that you look at an airplane, and you're like, how does this thing fly? Because it looks like a kid designed it. It's an X-wing, only it's a Boeing. And like the X-wing is the S-foils are in attack position, but they're duct taped on and they're cardboard. But it turns out if you take those things off, the game will not work. The plane will not fly without the cardboard duct taped on. It's one of those things. And Deadly Premonition came out in 2010. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was fresh out of college. I needed something. I was on a budget. Mm-hmm. I was just working odd jobs for pocket cash at the time. And there were two games I played. One was Nier, which...
You guys heard how much we like Nier. That was our first multi-parter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or very close.
Yeah, very close, yeah.
And the other one was Deadly Premonition. Now, Deadly Premonition came mostly as on the recommendation of somethingawful.com, where someone had done a super great friend of that website, which still exists.
It's still there, and you still have to pay $10 to be a member.
Yeah, it's the whole point of it. If you get banned from it, it costs you money, so you got to be on your best behavior.
Right.
Anyway, the super great friend basically has approached this game not as a broken mess, but just look at it for what it is, with great dry humor. That's basically the only way to approach it. We'll talk about Deadly Premonition another time. We're talking about the sequel, and I was really worried about the sequel because the first one took off not so much on release, but after everyone realized, we've been treating this like a game. Like everyone keeps the best reviews I've seen of it are gameplay 0 out of 10, music annoying 3 out of 10, characters 5 out of 10. They're wacky. You put them all together, 10 out of 10. Game of the year 2010. It's the best. It's not something you can really talk about. You have to experience it.
It's very much it's very much like the B movies that York worships. Mm-hmm. It's very much like them. When they come out, people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is awful. This is silly." You can see the zipper on the on the monster.
It's you had to be there spectacle.
It almost, even if you all good. But even if you weren't there, you didn't necessarily have to be there because you can enjoy it. As a bit of antiquity. You could look back on it and see how silly this was, and it's almost enjoyable that people did like it, and there's a charm to it for that very reason.
Now, it's a lot like one of your high school parties, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a bunch of things that happen. You're going to have so many memories from playing the game. I have a lot of memories of the game breaking. Mm-hmm. Like there's a bunch of quests that you can only do in a certain time frame. It's really important you do those on that time frame, otherwise you'll have to smoke for a week to get that time frame again. And occasionally,
smoking speeds time up.
And I'll be staking out this guy because I need to find out where this guy is, and I'll be chasing him down, and he'll be hovering as if he was driving a car, just motoring around the road. So I have to immediately chase this guy down while he's just ghost riding, literally. And that's just like a fun thing. And I'm like, I was worried for the sequel. Are they going to fix that? Are there not going to be people just riding around as if in invisible cars? Will there be teleportation? Will there be broken dialogue?
Watching
Will
Don,
will it be awkward?
right? Watching Don wrestle with this.
Yeah.
Before, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but Adam forced it on you pretty much.
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
He bought it with the intention of never playing it himself.
Of course, so I'm obligated. Yeah.
Right. So he guilted you, and he ran
Yeah.
it to your house, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah. Anyway, there's a movie like Zach. This reminds me of a movie.
Can I be Zach for the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Hell yes.
Zach, this reminds me of World's End by Simon Pegg and Nicholas Frost. It was the third in their big trilogy following Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. It's about it begins with Simon Pegg narrating the best day of his life. It's the day he graduated high school. He pulls the fire alarm, last day, last prank. And Pierce Brosnan, the cool high school teacher, takes him aside for like, look, I'm not going to get you in trouble. It's your last day, but what are you going to do with your life? Same thing I'm doing now, right, buddy? Because this guy is Gary King. He's the best. He was the king of high school. He is the king, Gary King. And he has all these wacky friends that hangs out with him. One of them is the loyal friend who's always been with him.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah. And all the other ones are. You can clearly tell that they're mostly in this friends group for the other friends, but Gary King is the one who gets them all doing things. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of tempestuous relationships, and he's talking about right after graduating high school, they're going on the Golden Mile, a bar crawl across their small town, and He narrates all the wacky adventures they got up to, but you can very clearly see this meant a lot to him, but it means nothing when you're just talking about it. Like, I punched a wall, man. It was great. Like, I got thrown out of a bar.
Right,
My best friend took off his shirt and threatened to fight the bartender. Yeah, that all sounds fun, but I'm not seeing it. So
Yeah,
and then at the very end, over the course of this story, his friends start dropping out. They get too drunk. They leave him on a bench, and they keep going. At the end, there's only 3 of them left. One of them is his loyal friend. One of them's kind of his rival. And one of them is him. And he says, they're looking at the sunset. We never got to the last 3 bars. The sun came up. But looking at that sunrise, pissed down our pants, sick on our shoes, I knew life was never going to get better. And you know what? Cut to present day. He's in a hospital gown. It never did. And then someone says... One of the other patients in group therapy says, like, so, you ever regret not making it to the last 3 bars? It cuts in on his eyes, and he goes to all of his friends who are now successful, boring, middle-aged, or approaching middle age.
Right.
And like, hey, guys, we're going to do the Golden Mile. We're going to finish it this time. And everyone says, dude, I've got kids. I got a job. Honestly, I don't really want to be with you. Well, I've got all the other guys going. Everyone else is already in. You're the only one out. And he says this to the first person.
Of course, it's a bluff, right?
Yeah. Like, wow, he's going to be there? I haven't seen him in ages. Yeah, sure. I guess I've got a weekend. And he does this to everyone. But then, like, there's always someone. What about him, your loyal friend? I thought you guys were never going to talk to each other again. If he's going to be there, I'm in, but I really don't. Yeah, he's in. Are you? He goes to the loyal friend, and he's a bank executive now. He takes one look, like his secretary says, you've got a friend here. He looks up, sees him. No, I don't.
Oh.
But he gets him to come because he says, oh, my mom died. And that guilts him because they grew up together pretty much.
Right, so he knows his...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to give away the entire movie because this is about Deadly Premonition 2, but
Allegedly about Deadly...
Most of Deadly Premonition 2 is going to be Agent Morgan talking about movies you might not have seen. Anyway.
Does he talk about this?
Yeah. Well,
really?
Not World's End, but this is me.
Yeah.
What I was worried about, when you try to recreate something, because the main character in this movie is trying to fix something about himself. The world did not work out the way he wanted it to, and he thinks it's because he messed up the best day of his life. So he's trying to get all his friends back together and artificially make it work.
He's the deserter.
Yeah.
Everything's about Disco Elysium now.
And I'm not going to give away the plot of the movie, but it's beautiful because you see all these people who are all these friends are broken in some way. They're all here for a reason other than he's begging them to. They all feel basically the same thing he's doing, but not to the same extent. Mm-hmm. And you see all the social dynamics play out, and I'm like, okay, this isn't what they thought. Like, he's trying to like you can't just recapture that lightning in a bottle, which is what he's trying to do. That's basically what the movie's about. He's trying to recapture something, but something has changed.
You can't go home.
Yeah, and there was a reason you can't go home in that movie, but we'll go to Deadly Premonition too. Okay. I was worried that they were just going to try to recapture everything and miss what made it great, because I don't know what made it great. Was it the awkward voice? Was it the awkward voice acting? I don't know. It's awkward. It's poorly programmed. It's beautiful.
Yes.
So Deadly Premonition 2 is great. It's great. And just to finally start off on the story, it takes place in 2019, ostensibly. There
Allegedly.
are 2 FBI agents closing in on a door to a Boston suburb apartment. It's in an older building, and one of them is kind of a balding guy in glasses, kind of a dork. The other one is a cool woman of color with a consummate professional voice, probably grew up in D.C., went to Yale.
Yeah.
And she is like, be careful around this guy. He's going to talk. He'll talk right around you. And remember,
is this bad voice acting?
No, it's actually pretty good from her. But the white white dork, he's really dorky.
Okay,
he's Japanese dorky.
Okay,
he's a white guy, but
right. Yeah, you mean the way the Japanese portray dorks in anime and video games. Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, remember, don't take your tie off. It's color red. He doesn't do red.
Oh, for those of you that have played Deadly Premonition, yeah.
Red tree.
Now, hang on. A little thing about how much Don loves Deadly Premonition. We went to Comic-Con at Indianapolis in 2014, and we all said we were going to cosplay. Don's the only one that does, but he just gets into the truck in a suit.
Yeah.
Adam's driving us. He just gets in a suit, and we're like, I don't get it. And you're like, I'm Francis York Morgan. And we're like, I don't get it. And he pulls red hots out of his jacket pocket and says, would you like some red seeds?
These puppies are dragging me to another Comic-Con in the Boondocks again. Anyway, they hear a voice from inside. It's open. They haven't even knocked yet. So they go in. You see York, and he's just a bedraggled old man. He's in a bathrobe.
Old.
He's not just white hair.
When did Deadly Premonition take place?
It took place in 2005, 2010.
Okay.
Over the course, he has stage 4 cancer.
Oh wow.
He is very ill, and he's smoking marijuana medicinally, and he's just sitting. And you see his apartment. It's all vinyl. It's all vinyl on one side, all DVDs on the other, and you're like, okay, we're here to talk to you about a former case. Like, apparently he is retired. After he retired,
they have their guns out approaching him.
Pretty much. He has okay. So low down. Morgan retired in his 40s. After Greenvale, he could not do field work again. He took a 2-year hiatus, and he had a mental breakdown.
Well, Greenvale revealed a lot about his past and stuff like that, and who Zach even was.
Yeah, and it kind of broke him. So he basically just retired, and now he's dying, basically. Mm-hmm. But there's one case these guys want to talk about, because at the very beginning of the game, you see a bunch of people in Louisiana carving an ice sculpture, it looks like, but it turns out there's a body inside from an old case that he worked in Louisiana.
That's impressive that much ice didn't fall that quickly.
It was
it's very hot now.
It was in a cold storage warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Deep underground.
Okay.
It was actually hidden.
The only place you could keep ice in Louisiana.
Anyway, this is a body from the first victim of a string of murders that he investigated back in 2005, and this body went missing at some point. Now it's been found again. So
did it say what time in Louisiana they were doing this?
2005.
2005. Okay, so this is when he was in Greenvale.
2005 was when he was in Le Carre. He goes to Greenvale after Le Carre.
And Le Carre is the town in Louisiana.
So this is going to be a prequel.
Okay.
The game is going to be a prequel. This is a prologue. We're going into epilogue.
So in 2019, ostensibly, because the framework of the story is
him
two agents interviewing them about this case.
Yeah, telling him about
from the beginning of the string of murders, presumably that he was investigating in Greenvale.
Yeah.
Because Greenvale, he had already it was just like Twin Peaks.
Yeah, well,
there was already
Greenvale hasn't happened yet in the course of this game.
Right, that's what I mean. It's the same killer, though, right?
No.
Oh, Never mind then.
No.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Okay, so he is investigating. He's on vacation in a place called Le Carre, Louisiana. He has chosen he heard about this murder, and something sounded weird to him. Something about the behavior of the people involved sounds a lot like the kind of people who are on a kind of drug called Sang Rouge. And that just happens to be an interest of his. So he decided to take his vacation and go out and, just hang out in this little town that happens to have an interesting murder.
Because of skooma dealers.
Yeah. Of course, he since this is a sweary game, he's going to talk a lot about things that he finds interesting. And takes place in 2005. He talks about how he rented a hybrid car. He flew into New Orleans, rented a hybrid, and started driving that towards Le Carre to conduct his investigation. However, just outside of town, like 10 miles outside of town, he parks for gas, and somebody steals his hybrid car. But they left behind something. This was a skater punk who stole his car, and they left behind their skateboard. So he takes their skateboard and uses that as his travel for the game. So
the whole game?
He skateboards into town and never gets another car. He just does sick 360 spin kicks while he's
He used to be a punk rocker in high school, remember?
He was a punk rocker in high school.
My favorite line in Deadly Premonition.
He gets really pissed when someone laughs at him for it.
Well, the thing is, the line, it was not prompted. It was not anything. He was just talking to the attractive female police officer.
You can't judge a book by its cover. I used to be a huge punk rocker in high school. And then she does that, like, while he just looks angry. Anyway, the game proper begins with York, of course, having coffee in a hotel. And the hotel owner is this really, really cool black guy, older black guy with that awesome Creole accent.
Oh yeah.
And he's like the ultimate chef, of course. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, Morgan being Morgan, he's more interested in the coffee and the delicious food. I understand academically this is delicious, but the coffee is amazing.
Oh, by the way, my favorite thing about Swery is he swears up and down he's never even seen Twin Peaks. That's my favorite. And he's doing it just to make people mad. I know he is. That's my favorite thing.
Anyway, you ask about the sheriff about the murder. And like, oh, yeah. She got cut up. They found her underneath a bridge, underneath an altar. Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds like, that's right up my alley. So, of course, you leave the hotel and you go to find the sheriff. Of course, right after you go outside the hotel, you're taking a smoke break because you're always smoking.
Yep.
And of course, he makes it look cool too. He always does a dramatic lighter pose.
Mm-hmm. ABS man, always be smoking.
And then he gets called on it by a little Southern girl who looks not like a girl, but like an adult that got sized down in Skyrim.
Like a halfling.
Yeah,
like a hobbit.
Yeah, and she talks like she's the most mature person in the game. She's really cool. Her name is Patricia. And she says, hey, do you know that smoking gives you a such and such percentage greater risk of lung cancer? And secondhand smoke, are you going to pay for my cancer treatments later down the line? And and she hands him a contract. She wants it in writing. And he writes, I promise to protect you from all evil in the world. And gives it back to her.
But he doesn't put the cigarette out.
No, he keeps smoking. But she has insisted, okay, she's got this in writing, so she's going to follow you around now. She's got to keep an eye on her investment. Mm-hmm. And she's also going to be your sidekick throughout the entire game. Turns out she's also the sheriff's daughter. Now, Patricia is white. Her dad is black. You do not know who her mom is, though. Like, her mom is sick. You're not going to see her.
Okay.
And the sheriff, he's just cool black guy. He's a younger black guy, and he's really into York because York is, he's an FBI agent,
right?
And you're from a small town. I mean, that's how I'd freak out
if I was a professional law enforcement official in a small town. I would absolutely be in awe of a federal agent. Yeah.
Like he says, hey, you want to investigate that murder? I was good. I'm not going to step on your toes doing that. No, hell no. I got other things I can do. If you want to investigate the murder, that's fine by me.
So he's the Harry from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, or the George Woodman from Deadly Premonition. Only George Woodman was
very against York.
He was very against York,
yeah,
always, until he kind of warms up to you towards the end. But this sheriff, he's got a different dynamic altogether. He's very happy to just let you take the job.
Like Harry from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, like, oh, thank God I don't have to do this. And he also gives you a radio to keep in touch. And throughout the game, he's going to talk to you about, like, he comes up with, like, DC. He calls you DC Eagle, and he calls himself Lucare Tiger.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I like that.
And he's like, he talks of like they actually have a really good thing going because York will talk about movies, like Francis York Morgan. Everyone calls him York. Just don't.
Right.
If you played Deadly Premonition, you understand.
Right.
But York will always talk about movies. Melvin will always narrate as if he's doing a title or a trailer. An FBI agent comes to a small town expecting Southern comfort.
Has he spoken to Zach? York.
He always is.
Okay. So
York and
that's
Zach
still-
are doing
yes.
this. They're always doing this, and everyone's reacting the way they always react. What the hell is with this guy?
Now, are they moving the way they did in the first game?
Yeah.
Like, is everything like? I mean, like
Yeah.
awkward, like when someone laughs. Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do the real.
Yeah,
and-
Melvin will always put his arm out and do like a sweeping motion to no one in particular.
now, does it feel forced or does it feel natural?
It feels pretty natural.
Okay, good.
It feels
good.
naturally awkward and disjointed.
Okay,
which is what
okay.
should be.
Okay.
So you go, of course, to you start investigating. You just like moving around the town, and you get most of your hints about the murder are going.
Do you have
to
any
come.
leads?
Yeah, well, not really, not physical leads, not
Okay.
lame leads.
Okay.
You look into a portrait at the hotel, and you see the Baron Samedi. That's not actually his name. He calls himself Hungan, but he's the Baron Samedi. He's a voodoo god, basically.
Okay.
And he's like, ha, 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 ha. And then like, hey, you look cool. And of course, Patricia is right there. So she's like, so the FBI agent is talking to just a wall painting.
Right.
And carrying on an elaborate conversation like, oh, you can see me. Yes, I'm here. Dude, can you help? Do you know anything about this murder? Like, oh, if you want to solve this case, you must strike down the 10 maidens. Of course. Patricia, where can I find 10 maidens? There's a bowling alley?
Is the bowling alley called the 10 Maidens?
No, but there's
10
You can
pins.
get a strike. You have to strike down the 10 maidens. Of course. Patricia, you're a genius. What? I thought we were solving a murder. To the bowling alley. Unfortunately, you get to the bowling alley, and there's an old woman who is the queen of the pins. She will not relinquish her title, and she will not let you challenge her.
And you have to become king of the.
Yeah, you have to become kingpin. So York orders like some food at the Southern Diner because he loves food. Well, he loves coffee. Food comes with the coffee. So, and Patricia decides to order a chocolate sundae on the company dime. Unfortunately, while she's marveling at how good it looks, York picks it up and eats it in front of her, saying, "I'm sorry, but sugar is really bad for you, and I signed a contract to protect you from evil."
That's very punk rock.
So anyway, this old woman will not let you challenge her, and she will not let you bowl because she's always there during operating hours. I've tried. I staked out her house to try to race her to the bowling alley. It wouldn't work. So I went to a voodoo shop, and they were selling figurines because this woman is very superstitious. So I bought an alligator figurine and put it on her front door while she was asleep. So when she walked outside, she freaked out because there's an alligator voodoo doll out there. She didn't come in to bowl that day. So
And you did.
I got the strike. And then
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. That,
then the old woman comes in just in time to see me bowl the strike, and I earn her respect, and she says, yeah, and she gives you a hint. I can't remember exactly what the hint is because all the hints are meaningless.
Right.
But, well, it's probably about the Clarkson family. After all, she was a Clarkson, and I don't think I need to tell you about who the Clarksons are. What? Oh, who are the Clarksons? Oh, you don't know who runs things in Lucare? Is it the Desbardaires Union? No, it's the Clarksons. They live on a plantation out. Right, yeah, she was the youngest daughter of the victim in this case is Lisa, or Lise. She is the youngest daughter of the Southern style gang / ruling family of this town.
Right.
And basically Yeah, so you get some lowdown on who the other members of this family are. There is P.J. Clarkson, the patriarch, who looks like Big Boss. And Danny, who married Galena, who was they are the parents of Lise. Danny is the son-in-law who's trying to ingratiate himself, but he's not really from here. Galena is an actress who came back home and had Lise. And there are a few others. There was an older sister of Galena, but she's not in the picture. There's also Leonard, an older brother who was the heir apparent before he left. So your investigation after you go around shooting squirrels and dogs with a rubber bullet gun.
Why?
Because they're squirrels will steal items from you, and dogs are all rabid. So you're Atticus Finching your way across the town. You also have to shoot alligators because there's actually missions for it. There's this town is overrun with wildlife that's just trying to kill everyone. So you go to this sugar plantation to investigate because you got a feeling that you'll find some psychic sense there, and of course you do. You shoot your way through the other world. You go into you step into a portal, and of course,
does it look like the?
Yeah, it's a swirling vortex of purple.
Well, I mean, does the other world look like the other world in the first game?
Kinda. It's a lot. It's that red tinge. There's red vines everywhere. Only York/Zach can see it, and he immediately recognized it. The other world. Are you still with me, player? Let's go.
Right.
So you go in there, and there's a bunch of weird voodoo-styled ghost enemies. There's nothing to write home about. They're fine. They're what they need to be. You're not playing this for the shooting game.
Right.
So you move your way through hell, and you come across the crime scene, which you have found because of your psychic senses, telling you there was something special about it.
And the game doesn't really tell you anything the background on why. You just go in there. York's like, all right, cool, we're here.
He talks to Zach, who lives in his head, and he has the Baron Samedi on speed dial.
Right.
So just don't ask questions.
Right.
And of course, you don't just find the crime scene. You just you recreate the crime. You see holographic images of everyone involved in the crime. You see Lise, who is drugged up on something. She's laughing, but she's already been dismembered. All of her limbs have been chopped off by an axe. And the person holding the axe is her mother, who is crying. And you see off to the side a very stylish woman with sunglasses just looking on as if she's kind of directing the whole thing. So York's like, okay. Lise was killed by her own mother. We also need to find out who the stylish woman is. Patricia, who was the most stylish woman in town. Also, where is Galena? Well, I don't know where Galena is. We could ask my dad, I guess. You're a genius, little girl. Your dad is the sheriff. Who is also your adoptive father, who loves you dearly. You have a great relationship. I gotta applaud that. Anyway. So you talk to Melvin, like, yeah, Lucari Tiger, come in. I need to find the most stylish woman in town. Also, I need you to arrest Galena right now. Because she did it. What? Do you have any evidence? I know, she did it. Lock her up. Okay. So, well, if you're looking for someone who's stylish in this town, I guess you could look for Lena, but I don't know if you'd really call her. That's perfect. I'll find Lena. So Lena hangs out in a bar.
A smoky jazz bar?
Yeah, smoky jazz bar.
How did I guess?
And of course, but the sheriff says, Lena's not really what you'd call a stylish woman. Well, I don't know. She was pretty stylish, man. Yeah, and Patricia's like, she's not. People around town will say she's not really a woman. Oh. Now this is an important plot point, actually, because York fell in love with this town. He loves Southern comfort, the Southern hospitality, small town America. Like, Zach, don't you just love it? Everyone's so nice here.
The same way that
everyone's so nice here.
The same way that Cooper falls in love with Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
Washington.
Like everyone's so you go to New York and no one will just give you the time of day. Like if you start tapping your head and talking about movies, people look at you weird. But around here, like everything is just better out here in real America.
It's the opposite of Green Acres, where he, of course, moves to Green Acres and realizes that these are a bunch of fucking idiots living in this town. And he's stuck there.
Yeah, he's a New York Times reporter after 2016 going out to live the real American life and talking with all the people and then finding out they really are just that bad. Because this crushes York when he realizes what's going on. She's like, okay, so Lena is transgender and everyone hates her for it. And he's like, but this town is so beautiful. Everyone was so nice to me, a white man. How can they be bad? This is Patricia. Oh my God. Oh, your dad. Oh, he and I are gonna have some words. So, okay, look.
So that is what's going on.
Yeah,
Lena is a trans person in the town.
She
hates
is a
her
trans
for it.
person. Yeah.
Okay.
She's very stylish, very attractive woman.
And that's why the town is saying she's not actually stylish.
Yeah, like, don't let her fool you. She looks hot.
Yeah.
But like you also find like a script, I think, for hormonal treatment she's taking.
Yeah.
Which is another hint, but York doesn't care. I mean, even in 2005, he's from New York or D.C. He's from Civilization.
Right.
He doesn't care.
He understands that they're...
But like Patricia, like, he says, look, Patricia, there is nothing wrong with being transgender. But if she's running these red seed drugs, I do have a problem with that. Also, she was present at a murder and didn't do anything. So I'm got to talk to her anyway. So you do lock up Galena, and
how does she react?
She doesn't react at all. She's just blubbering the whole time. In fact, you fight Galena in the other world.
During the arrest?
During the arrest, yeah. Like when you arrest, sorry, it's fresh in my mind.
Right.
When you arrest Galena, you go into the other world, you see a vision of a fetus inside a red bulb, like a tree with a bulb hanging out it.
Right.
And Galena's voice is coming out of this thing. You shoot it enough, and she becomes a Final Fantasy boss, like an angel.
Yeah.
A red tree angel.
Yeah.
You fight her enough, and then you go back to the real world, and she's just like curled up on the ground crying because she killed her daughter for some reason. You arrest her. You go back to question her the other day, and she's dead. And Melvin has no idea how anyone got in here to kill her.
What have you done about Lena? Have you questioned her? Have you talked to her?
We're trying to find her right now.
Okay, so you're still searching for her.
We're still searching for her, but when you arrest Galena, she dies immediately. Mm-hmm. Then you meet PJ and Danny, her husband, and PJ, her father. And PJ is just like the ultimate big boss, really intimidating guy. And Danny's...
Kept you waiting, huh?
Yeah, like, I'm here to collect my daughter. I understand you arrested her and she got chopped up inside holding.
Oh, she got chopped up just like Lise did.
Like Lise did.
Huh.
And Melvin's like, I don't know who could have gotten in here. Yeah, it's a big mystery, but we got to find Lena because she's the only other suspect we have because I saw her in my dream vision.
Right. Right.
And Melvin's like, well, okay, man.
I had a dream about Tibet.
Look, I gave this case to you. If you could have put the paperwork on the psychic shit, that's fine.
Right.
So you go to the bar. And, of course, Lena very mysteriously comes out of the beads and starts questioning you. And you're like all business with her. Like, yeah, you're one cool cat. I'm a cool cat, too, you know.
Please tell me he says that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much. Like, but there's one thing. There's one difference between you and me, Lena. I don't traffic in red seeds. And she does that really cool thing where she like lights your drink on fire with her hands without showing you the match.
Right. And
like you both drink together. Like, so what do you know about these murders? And she starts talking about how her family And York lets on something. York does something really that kind of bothered me at first. He calls her Leonard,
which I assume is her dead name.
Yes, that's her dead name.
Okay.
Like, okay, York, you were doing really good for a minute.
Right.
But then I realized, he figured something out that I didn't figure out. Lena is the son that went missing and came back.
Okay.
Lena Domon is Leonard Clarkson.
So he's not saying it to disvalidate her. He's saying it to throw her off and tell her that I
know who you are.
Okay.
I know who your father is.
So yeah, it's a bit grindy Like I don't like it.
It's not very smooth out.
It's
not mean-spirited. It's just awkward.
He's conducting an investigation. He's trying to throw her off. Still, it's not something I would have done, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. It's what it is.
Like this could be worse. Like,
no, actually, the way they're handling it, it sounds like so far
a villain, a transgender villain. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and she's being treated as very cool.
Yeah, it's certainly cooler than J.K. Rowling would treat the situation.
Yeah. She took the polyjuice potion the wrong way.
She's absolutely off on one. Like, it's a melt. So we're talking about a murder mystery, but the tragedy story is J.K. Rowling's Twitter feed.
Yeah. Anyway, Lena starts talking about how her family bloodline is cursed, and she's going to fix it. She's going to purge the bad cursed blood and bring the Clarksons back to glory.
They're the richest fucking family in town.
Yeah.
I'll take that curse.
Anyway, York finds out that he has been drugged. So he passes out, wakes up in the bar, and of course the bartender here, the normal bartender, is a black man called Xavier who wears nothing but underpants. Tidy whities. To his credit, they are immaculate tidy whities. And he points it out, and the camera keeps zooming in on the tidy whities. Look how pristine these things are. Ironed out every day, every hour, on the hour. I am out here serving drinks and playing my jazz bar with the pastor and his skateboarding daughter.
With the pastor and his skateboarding daughter?
The pastor and his skateboarding daughter play jazz with this guy.
The skateboarder who stole your car.
No, not skateboarder. She's that was 10 miles out from town. She's another skateboarder.
Okay.
She's skateboarding for Christ.
Okay. Oh, she's an extreme team Christian.
Yeah,
like
she has baptized on her shirt.
Like one of the Wow, that is a really cool character to put into the game.
Yeah.
Like,
and of course the pastor is like the ultimate cool. He's the only kind of cool evangelical there are, a black preacher.
Oh yes.
He puts some energy and spirituality into his sermons. So he's like, at some point in the main story, I can't remember when, he demands several offerings of canned spinach and other ingredients that you can only find in scattered parts around the town you have to investigate for to get the main story going again. I can't remember exactly why.
To feed the poor.
But he said, the Lord hungers for canned spinach. Anyway, main story anyway. You need to find Lena. But Lena has it out for her father, who is Big Boss. How is she going to take down Big Boss, especially when he has a private army at his estate?
Does he?
He has a private gang that enforces town. Like Melvin actually says, the Clarksons, they don't really like me. Oh, because you're the sheriff and you're cutting in on their turf? Yeah, and I'm also black. Oh,
wow. They flat out say that in the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like they're not racist, quote unquote,
but they are. Right.
Look, they're
this
good.
Is a very like this guy had a magnifying lens on small town American culture. Like, this is incredible.
So Melvin's actually got kind of an interesting dynamic where he's technically the law, but the Clarksons control everything.
Like, well done, Swery.
Yeah,
well done.
It's awkward, but so is everything in this. So you go to the Clarksons' estate, and you get there just in time to have another psychic vision.
Mm-hmm.
You fight your way through the other world again, and this time it is Lena in the red bulb, and she comes out, and she is Sephiroth. And of course, you fight her with your alligator gun that you use specifically to hunt gators. Of course, I'm sorry. When you're in hell, your gun disappears, and your hand becomes like a, like an Akira arm.
Oh,
an
okay.
Akira gun arm. Yeah.
Akira, the classic 80s anime about the... Yeah. Watch Akira.
And you defeat her, and you go back to the real world, and it turns out you just missed the ultimate showdown. Because, when you in your psychic vision, you see Lena, who dresses up like she's in the Matrix now. Mm-hmm. She's got a gun on her father, and his bodyguards all have guns on her. And she's got a bomb in the fireplace with a detonator.
And you saw all this in the spirit world.
You see this in the
other
spirit world. Yes. When you get there, all of his bodyguards are dead. Like apparently she did something really.
But
cool.
the scene is the same.
The scene
other
is the
than
same.
the bodyguards being dead.
The bodyguards are like the bodyguards are alive in the spirit vision. When you actually meet them in real life, they're already dead. Lena has like Big Boss on the ground strangling him, and like York is trying to talk her down. Like, dude, you like Lena, you are the smartest, coolest person I have ever met. If you go to jail for the red seeds, I promise. You will have a future at some point. But then she she says something more about the cursed bloodline needing to be purged. PJ says, I'm sorry, I didn't know how to love you when you came back, but I was always proud of you. And then they blow up.
Both of them.
Both of them. And they blow up graphically, too. PJ Clarkson's head winds up getting propelled onto a chandelier spike. York wakes up blood splattered, like, oh god, I'm glad I wasn't in the lethal radius of that.
Right.
I'm glad I wasn't in the Call of Duty lethal radius of that very cool bomb. And Danny Clarkson runs in, and he sees his father-in-law staring down at him as a decapitated head.
From a blade of the ceiling fan. Oh, no, a chandelier spike.
Yeah. Yeah, so he freaks out too, like okay, because he was always like the subordinate.
And Lena's dead.
Yeah, Lena is dead. Galena, in very short order, most of the Clarksons are dead. One thing I forgot: Danny loses his arm to an alligator because his adoptive his stepdad says, "If you want to be a Clarkson, you got to prove it." And like you notice that. He's Big Boss because he has an eye patch. He's missing an eye. Mm-hmm. Apparently, the Clarkson males give up a body part
to the gators.
To the gators or something to prove themselves. He winds up having his arm bitten off by a gator to prove himself as a Clarkson. So for the rest of the game, he's going to have like his arm in a sling.
Prosthesis. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Danny's not really that important. He's mostly broken. He was a born subordinate, and now he's technically the heir to the Clarkson estate. He doesn't know what to do with it. He's always been really fronting you like, I'm a Clarkson. You can't tell me what to do. Like, oh, what do I do? Everyone's dead. So York is like, so York and Melvin are like, okay, so let's just recap. This is like one chapter of the game, and all the Clarksons are dead.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we did solve the murder. I mean, Galena killed the first murder, the one I was technically stole from you.
Yeah.
It was her mom the whole time, and then somebody killed her. Don't know who that was.
Most likely Lena.
Most likely Lena, and
know.
Lena killed everyone else because she wanted to kill off her cursed family.
So the question is, Lena, why did she have Galena kill Lise? What?
And there's still the matter of these red seeds, though. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna hang out until I figure out what's going on with that. But then,
and the coffee's not telling you anything.
Coffee's not telling you anything. The only other person from the Clarksons you know for a fact to be alive is some older sister who was of an age with Lena that also ran off or is no longer in the picture. Then Patricia comes up and says, my dad is missing, and so is my mom. Which is when it clicks to York. Oh, Melvin married the most beautiful woman in town, he said. And he's on the outs with the Clarksons for a lot of reasons.
And they don't like him. They don't dislike him because he's the sheriff. They dislike him because he's
black. And he married the eldest daughter. Yep. So we just need to find her. She might be in trouble. Lena might have something else planned for her or something.
Right.
Like, okay, so your dad...
Some sort of post-mortem backup.
So Patricia is like freaking out because she's a little kid, and both her parents are gone.
Right.
Her mom is sick. We never actually met her, but she's sick, and now she's missing, and so is her dad.
Okay.
So we need to find them. Okay. Now, in a cooler version of the game, York was like, okay, we're going to need some rum, some killer dye, and some rabbits. We're going to summon the Baron Samedi. He just goes to a picture like, no, he looks in a mug of coffee and like,
yes,
he
finally!
looks in a mug of coffee and he sees the Baron Samedi. You need to find the boathouse. Of course, the boathouse. Where's the boathouse? Diner owner, where is the boathouse? Patricia, do you know where the boathouse is? I don't know. There's a lot of boathouses around here. We're in a bayou. Everyone gets around by skyboat, like airboating.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry your parents are both missing. Why don't you go sleep in my hotel room? Anyway, you go up onto the top of a really high tower to scope out the area for boathouses, and you see one, but you can't access it by ground because it's gator-infested swamp. Mm-hmm. But there is one guy who has an airboat service, and he's a dwarf. He's a cool southern dwarf, always whittling, always polishing his stones, and he says, "I don't like you, FBI. I've been calling about you goddamn poachers taking my crawfish for 10 years. First time a murder happens, then you show up. They can take my crawdads anytime they want." Like, okay, I gotta earn this guy's trust. Well, he really likes skipping stones, so I'm gonna skip some stones.
A minigame?
Yeah, minigame.
Excellent.
Skipping stones. You ever see that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stage?
The stage, yeah.
Like, where
Splinter.
Or Splinter.
It's Splinter's song, yeah.
Splinter's song, Skipping Stones. Anyway.
It's my favorite song from that live thing.
Yeah.
None of the others even compare, really.
Yeah. So you skip stones, and you earn this dwarf's respect. You got a good arm. Anyone who can throw like that is okay in my book. So he takes you to this dock. And he says, "Look, there's a big storm a-coming on the radar. I got to get back. If you need me, just hit me on the radio." All right. And then York does like, "Zach, I think this is the final battle." So you fight your way into this. You fight your way through a bunch of, like, the whole island is basically hell world. Mm-hmm. You're already in the other world. You fight your way through a maze of, like, marshlands. You fight your way up to the boat dock. And there's no final battle. You see Melvin, only he is arrayed in voodoo gear. And you see Candy.
Who's Candy?
His wife.
Oh, okay.
The missing Clarkson.
Okay.
She is hooked up to some kind of apparatus that feeds red gas into her, and she is bloated beyond human form.
Is the sheriff the fucking bad guy again?
Yes and no. I had the same experience because he's not as cool.
It sounds just like the Woodman reveal.
Welcome to Greenville.
Right.
Before he becomes Blanca.
Right.
But Melvin, you don't fight Melvin. Melvin apparently Melvin loves his wife, and his wife is apparently being transformed into the goddess of fertility as part of Lena's cockamamie plan to restart To save Lakari's economy, they need a goddess, a pure goddess, a Clarkson that she actually likes. Mm-hmm. And, of course, being turned into a fertility goddess means you literally become that fertility goddess figure from the Stone Age.
Right.
She is completely immobile. Melvin just takes her around on a boat. And, but there's one other Clarkson.
Danny. No.
Patricia.
That's right. She's a Clarkson.
She's a Clarkson. It turns out Patricia is the daughter of Candy from she's Candy's daughter. And Melvin loves her, but Patricia has to die to complete this ritual. And he seems to be under some kind of spell where he is in full reverence mode for the goddess / the red gas, red trees,
right.
Which we know for a fact does weird things to you.
We know that from the first game.
Yeah. And from what we've seen in the first game, because Galena did not really want to kill her daughter. She did it because she was under the influence of the red gas.
Right.
The Sang Rouge. Mm-hmm. And throughout the course of this, York is basically just trying to talk Melvin down, while Patricia is apparently in some kind of fugue state because she's been kidnapped as well. She's here. And right as Melvin is about to kill her, York does that thing where he takes, like, something weird happens. I don't really know what happens. He points the gun at Melvin, and Melvin says, "You fool, I gave you that gun. Did you think I'd give you a gun that could hurt me?" What? I've been killing gators with this. Did you put a computer chip in here with facial recognition?
Is that what York says?
He doesn't say anything. He just accepts that.
The gun.
He just accepts. He points the gun at Melvin and says, "That won't work on me, York. Damn it."
I've tried everything now.
It's like if Melvin said it's a little insurance policy called Directive 4. This gun can't be used against members of the Sheriff's Department of Lucare. I had to erase the Clarksons because they made a mistake. Now it's time to... yeah, but Melvin is just about to sacrifice his daughter. Sorry. This game is so good. So York has accepted the B-movie logic that his gun will not work
on Melvin, right?
On this specific person. It works on everyone else, up to and including demons.
Alligators.
Yeah.
And
demons,
deities, yeah.
Sephiroths, not Melvin. Melvin planned for this. But he's got one other thing. He's got a cigarette he's been smoking the whole time. He flicks it at Melvin. It hits him in the eye. And while he's like doing this, York grabs Patricia and takes her away. And this snaps Melvin out of his fugue state. And lightning strikes the boathouse because that storm is blown in.
Right.
The storm turns out to be Katrina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the boathouse is on fire. Hurricane Katrina has just hit this town. And Melvin and York are both trapped under rubble while Patricia is freaking out, trying to save both her parents, who are starting to come back to their senses. Well, Melvin is anyway. Candy is pretty much still in a drug-filled haze.
Yeah.
York manages to... York says, I'm not strong enough to lift this rubble. Zach, give me power. So York frees himself, and Melvin says, York, get Patricia out of here. And so, of course, there's that tearful thing where, like, Dad, we can literally help you leave, too. We could probably take this boat that Mom's on and all of us escape. Like, no, that's not going to work. I planned for this. That won't work, Patricia. So York and Patricia escape and presumably find a way, like they presumably call up the dwarf on the airboat to escape Hurricane Katrina literally while it's nipping at their heels.
Right.
And that is the end of the prequel game that you've been playing. But throughout this, York has been talking with these two FBI agents. Like, okay, so you're telling me that you showed up, had several metaphysical profiling episodes, a.k.a. psychic visions of crimes happening, solved a murder, and then another murder happened, and then several other murders happened. Then you saved Patricia from her sheriff father, who has psychic powers over your gun, who was trying to turn his wife into a fertility goddess.
Now, are these moments interjected in the gameplay?
Throughout the game.
It's almost like kind of an Assassin's Creed thing where you come back to the present every once in a while.
Old York will be telling his story.
Right.
And occasionally old York will have, you'll be playing as the FBI agents in this case. In this case, Aaliyah, I can't remember her last name, the cool professional woman, FBI agent. She's like, so I see, look, this is real, like, your case report is bullshit. I just found that body after 15 years that disappeared for some reason. Oh, yeah.
Whose body?
Lisa's body, the first victim.
Okay.
Apparently, now there is another character I completely missed. There's a... when the body disappears, there is an investigation that takes place back in 2005. York is like, okay, how could anyone have dragged this giant chunk of ice out of this? Because they were keeping the body in cold storage for autopsy because they didn't have anything else. Who could have abducted this body? Because the footprints suggest someone who is 10 feet tall. The tallest person we know is 6'7". And while he does love Lise quite a bit, he's not big enough. Well, okay. Well, questions for later. It turns out when they never actually found that body because after a lot of the wrap up that you normally get after an investigation gets wiped out in Katrina. Katrina comes in, that warehouse is damaged, so York leaves without finding the body.
Right. And it wasn't an official case to begin with.
Yeah. And he gives this case report, like, this is the murder. Lena Dunham killed all these other people. Melvin and Candy died in the hurricane, which is literally what happens. Like, yeah, I don't believe you, York. Like, I've been watching you for 4 months. None of this makes sense. And then, like, the doughy data analyst will occasionally geek out with York whenever he interjects about movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, yeah, dude, you've got DVDs, not Blu-rays. You're a DVD man. Oh, my God, you've got VHSs. Is that... Oh, my God, that's Blue Velvet, isn't it?
Do they mention Blue Velvet?
Yeah, like that. Like,
I love it.
A bunch of different movies.
I love it.
And then, like Aaliyah's like, God damn it, we're here for a reason. You're hiding something, mister. I think, like, because Patricia has been kidnapped, and this actually gets York's attention. What? No, Patricia's fine. She's the head of the Clarkson family now. Yeah, but she was kidnapped the other day, and it turns out someone looks a lot like you booked a flight down to Lucare just the other day before it happened. You've got to find... And then he has, like... I think what happens is he starts coughing quite a bit, and occasionally he'll have freak-out moments. Like, he's talking to a fairy the whole time, but that's normal for him.
Right.
He doesn't have Zach anymore. He has a fairy.
Right, because Zach got taken care of in Deadly Premonition.
Yeah. But he is you can tell he's really freaking out. When I say he looks old, he looks like a corpse.
Right.
And he has red eyes now, kind of like really bloodshot red eyes. Mm-hmm. He freaks out a lot, and the data analyst takes him to the bathroom to get meds. And while they're in the bathroom, York says, I need you to tell Aaliyah that I'm the one who gave her the anonymous tip to investigate that warehouse. Because I still have reservations about that whole thing, too. But don't tell her now. Tell her when you think the time is right. Aaliyah takes this opportunity to investigate his bedroom, where he has set up a profiling network.
Yeah, the thing with the string.
The Greenvale case,
yeah.
the Lucare case. The common denominator is the red seeds. His bed is laid out with a bunch of he's got like a deer. Like he's created models of all the main characters.
Right.
Like PJ Clarkson is a bear with an eye patch. Lena Dunham is a deer with a wig and with sunglasses. There's a bunch of mannequins everywhere. It looks like a murder house.
Right.
So Aaliyah is trying to piece this together, and York freaks out and tries to strangle her because he doesn't see her. He sees Forrest Kaysen from the first game.
FK and the coffee.
Yeah. He sees Forrest Kaysen, I'll kill you. But, and of course, they overpower this weak, cancer-ridden old man and handcuff him, and then they start interrogating him again. And he eventually comes clean, like, okay, I don't know exactly what happened here. I don't know who killed Galena. Presumably it was Melvin as part of Lena's plan. I don't know what Lena's plan is, but I assumed Patricia would be safe since he's the only Clarkson left. Unless this isn't Lena's plan. Maybe this... Oh, my God. She was banking on me to protect her, and I left. This is my fault. Something puts him together because he knows from Greenvale that when you take a bunch of red seeds, you Hulk out. Your physical attributes become greatly increased. Mm-hmm. Like George Woodman chows down on those. He can now throw axes like they're little daggers, and then he eats even more and he becomes Blanca with lightning powers. So wait a minute, that's a big detail. That 6'7" guy who really, really loved Lise could conceivably have taken enough red seeds to become 10 feet tall. And he has access to that cold storage warehouse. He probably has an altar. And when you took Lisa's body away from him, the object of his affection, he tried to replace it with another Clarkson. That's where he's... Oh, that's going to be a problem, though. If he's on red seeds, he's in the other world. These people, they can't access the other world.
Time to get the band back together.
Yeah. In fact, the only person who can really contact the other world is York and Zach when they're together, but he doesn't have York anymore. This is just Zach. But he's so close to death. He's got one foot in the grave. At this point, the fairy that Zach sees, uncuffs his handcuffs. And he manages to knock out Aaliyah and says, Davis, you and I both love Chicago-style pizza. You need to trust me. We like the same kind of movies. Pizza will never betray you.
Is that the
Yeah,
line?
pizza will never betray you. There's a lot more lines going. I'm condensing a lot, but yeah. He says, you need to give me your gun and your car. Call the FBI and arrange a private jet to Lakari. I'm the only one who can save Patricia. And he's like, okay, here's my gun, here's my car. And he gets on the line, Agent Johnson, Agent Morgan needs a jet. So the game kicks back up. You're playing as old Zach in an old beat up leather coat. And like, this is gonna be my last battle. It's like it's Metal Gear Solid 4.
Right.
This is like the microwave hallway where you're fighting your way through hell one last time.
Yep.
And you make your way to the cold storage warehouse and you find Avery, who was like this really simple big lug. He's kind of an affable old giant.
Yeah.
But he's been eating red seeds and now he's like a giant monster. You beat him. You find Patricia on a little altar, ready, and she's still out of it. And then Zach starts coughing up blood, you really get the sense that he is just straight up dying. Mm-hmm. And of course, he sees red and he starts freaking out. Like the blood of his own blood is freaking him out because he's seeing red.
Right.
Like his mind's just really foggy because he's been exposed to the red gas himself in Greenvale and everywhere else. All of his and he has a vision of Patricia talking about how he just shows up. He's a self-centered asshole who just talks to himself all the time.
Right.
Makes promises, contracts even, and then leaves. And Patricia isn't actually saying this is just his guilty conscience coming up. And then he sees Forrest Kaysen, the big red tree demon, who's just being the nicest old demon he could be. Like, oh, it's good to see you again, Agent Morgan. If you just take my hand, I could take you to go see York. And there's no option here. Like, you're just like delirious. You take his hand. Zach becomes a tree monster. Like all those years of exposure, just like he gives into the dark side. Just that one part. But Aaliyah, agent. Like that cool FBI agent who does not have psychic powers, but knows something is going on, manages to follow Morgan into hell and sees the tree monster and shoots it. And then it cuts back to, but the bullets just bounce off and she's like trying to figure out what's going on. Morgan, is that you? And then Forrest Case like, oh, I like this one, York. I like this one, Zach. There's some promise here. And that freaks Zach out quite a bit because the last person Forrest Kaysen took an interest in was Emily, which led to, and her death messed him up. Mm-hmm. That's one of the big things that messed him up. It turns out, if you haven't pieced it together, Emily is his fairy. Okay. Either a literal spirit guide that replaced Zach, or York rather. But yeah. So Forrest Kaysen starts... the red gas is seeping out because this is where that Avery has been building it. And he starts subtly influencing Aaliyah to the point where she is falling under his control. York comes back from heaven. York comes back from the other world.
Right.
And Patricia comes back. She sees Zach. He's not a tree monster anymore. He's just an old dying man. And she recognizes him and she's like trying to wake him up. And York comes back and says, Zach, don't worry. I'll handle this. So Forrest Kaysen is just doing that thing he's always like. He's just a floating, jolly old man, and he's controlling Aaliyah, hiding behind her like, oh, hello, York. It's good to see you again. If you can't shoot me without shooting Aaliyah, the hell I can't. So you got to do trick shots to Forrest Kaysen. And when you finally defeat him, Aaliyah passes out, and Patricia can see York. Like, there's old Zach Morgan, who she is cradling, and then there's young York.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, are you with the FBI, too? Yes, I'm FBI agent. special agent, Francis York Morgan.
But all my friends call me York.
Yeah. And like, and she's like trying to wake Zach up, and York is just saying, look, it's his time. He has stage 4 cancer. His job is done. The hell it is. He promised to protect me from all evil in the world. God, there's another moment. Okay. At some point, Aaliyah shoots at Zach's prone body, and Patricia shields him. Mm-hmm. But she's wearing a locket that contains that little scrap contract. And of course, the locket just does a matrix dodge into the bullet to deflect it. And like, apparently that contract is very spiritual.
Right.
So York says, well, I'm sorry, but that contract is kind of void. It's already done its purpose. It's fulfilled its purpose. Well, I'm going to make another contract. I'm going to protect him from all the evil in the world. And then York pauses. This is the only kind of thing you can do once. And then she says, yes, I'll make the contract. Well, I want you to save Zach. So York literally cures Zach of his cancer. And walks back into heaven. Now, this is a very long ending to a game with a very weird story structure.
Right.
So the whole time I'm like, oh my God, this is going to end. I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate this goddamn game. Like, when at the boathouse when you face off with Melvin, like, oh God, this better not cut to credits. I'm gonna be so pissed. 5 hours later, this is better not. I better not just kill Avery and have this. I better not just kill Case and have this. It's like you're on an airplane. You're coming in for a landing after a really long flight, and it keeps bouncing. It just keeps bouncing off the runway, and you're like, oh God, we're gonna crash into the comm tower. I'm like, okay. Pilot comes on. All right, go around power. Looper, like 3 hours later. Okay, we got approach. Then you look out the side window. It turns out the plane has somehow flipped upside down. Like, okay, let's try this again. Then you hear like, okay, we're running on fumes now. Mm-hmm. The pilot is like, okay, Lord Satan, deliver us. And he manages to touch it down. Like,
right.
It's not a good landing. It's not a good landing, but
like,
it's a serviceable landing.
Right.
Like, there's a bunch of aborted. There's a bunch of endings that would have sucked. Like, if you had landed upside down, that would have sucked. If you had landed after bouncing a bunch, that would have sucked.
Right.
The landing they eventually arrive at is good. So, after the credits. There's a Fallout style recap. Agent Aaliyah becomes one of the best FBI agents ever. The doughy data analyst just gets to go back and play computer games all day at work.
Hell yeah!
And Patricia and Danny wind up working together to rebuild Lucaria, just like Lena wanted. Although Lena's full plans aren't really ever known. Aaliyah is going to keep up the crusade against Sang Rouge, the Red Seeds. But what happens to York/Zach? Well, York is still in heaven, but Zach is still, presumably he's been saved from cancer, but okay. I need more game. The credits are happening. I'm getting mad. I'm getting mad. Credits end. Zach is FaceTiming with Patricia. And like, okay, this is good. This is good. This is just Zach on FaceTime talking to Patricia about her life in Lucaria, about how she's going to come visit him in Boston, and how Zach looks a lot better too. He's still white, kind of pale, but he's not dying visibly anymore.
Yeah.
And he's just like talking to her about his favorite movies and his favorite music albums, and she's talking to him about her life, and they're just having fun together. And the whole time there's a chat log on the side with a guy called Y who is carrying on a conversation with Zach. It's like, hey, dude, she's looking pretty good. She looks like she's doing pretty good. I mean, you did sign that contract with her after, like, oh, shut up, York.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So he's instant messaging York in heaven while he's talking to... Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Say hi to Emily for me.
Oh, wow.
And that's how the game finally ends, where Zach does have a happy ending. Patricia takes over Lucare. Zach has finally faced his demons. I won't say necessarily this is a sequel that had to happen because Deadly Premonition had a perfectly good ending.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was really worried about the ending. I was worried several times throughout the ending.
Right.
But we've already covered this. It eventually manages to get one you can walk away from.
Right.
And
they put the inflato ramp down and everyone slides out of the airplane at long last. Right.
And so that's it's fun. It's awkward. Like there's let's just go to some random disjointed moments. When old Zach confronts Forrest Kaysen in the when I think it's when in the bedroom when he sees Aaliyah, but he's crazy and he sees Forrest Kaysen instead. He says, "Forrest Kaysen." There's a 5-second pause, and he screams, "Ah!" And he charges at him. And he does this again with a gun, where he just screams out of nowhere, like he's in a cutscene, and then like a voice clip signals 5 seconds early, and he starts shooting. There's a bunch of all the voice clips are just perfectly off. They're just perfectly off. I was so worried they were going to be on point. I was so worried the music cues were going to work. I was so worried the graphics were going to be good. I was so worried that this game was going to be fun. I put more hours hunting down Underpants Barman because there is a quest line where you have to get every one of his 7 cocktails for every day of the week, but the bar is closed on Sundays. I talked to him about this in the bar. Can I just have the Sunday special now? No. Only on Sundays. Well, where are you on Sunday? I don't know. He has a house. I stood outside his house every hour of Sunday. He was never there. So I went to church where everyone goes on Sunday morning, and I stood outside literally smoking, waiting for him to come out.
Does he go to church in his underpants?
No, he has a suit, unfortunately. He takes the suit off as he's walking back to his car.
Does he really?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't see it happen in real time. I was smoking to make him go farther,
right.
And eventually I catch him on the road in his underpants because his car has disappeared. And he's doing the thing where he's just driving.
Yes, it still happens.
It still happens.
Yes.
So, it turns out he's also driving around the pastor's daughter. Apparently, he's giving her a ride back to her house.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. On Sunday, I literally had a notebook where I'm like, okay, Xavier enters church at 9 a.m., takes pastor's daughter home to her workshop for skateboard repair at 10:15 a.m.
They have church at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
Good Lord.
Goes to diner that I cannot enter because it's not coded at 11:40. Arrives back at home at 3:50. Keeps door locked until 11:30 p.m. on Sunday.
You only have a half hour.
You have 1/2 hour to get this drink. Otherwise, you have to smoke your week away. So, 10 out of 10, game of the year.
So it does not quite measure up to the first. And it's not a sequel we needed.
It's not. It wasn't necessary, but it could have been bad.
Was it a nice get? Was it a pleasant?
At the end, it gave some closure to York that I did. It wasn't necessary, but it's like the end of the Lord of the Rings.
To other people, to the folks watching at home, Don, who enjoyed Deadly Premonition, how much is this? How much did this game put you back, Adam?
Wow.
So it's a AAA priced game. It's a full price game. What do you think? Should they get
I'd
it?
definitely play it, but yeah.
Okay, so there you go. And
I mean, if you like skateboarding around town,
I love that he doesn't get a car. I love
always
it.
skateboarding.
Does it ever rain hell dogs?
No, but if you stay out after a certain hour, voodoo nightmares will pop out.
Okay.
Back.
Are you interested in doing Deadly Premonition?
For a podcast. I could probably do it. Yeah.
Okay. He said probably, so don't get your hopes up, but we'll get around to that. Final thoughts.
There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong, a lot of things that went wrong in the wrong way, a lot of things that went wrong in the perfect way. But it successfully recaptured it recaptured a lot of ways the feeling of the first game. It's perfectly awkward in a lot of ways. It's fun, but it doesn't reach the high highs of George Woodman.
Okay.
And the climax, fighting Forrest Kaysen again is fun. But I was when Zach turned into a tree monster, I thought he was going to fight a giant giant Forrest Kaysen,
right?
Like that, but that didn't happen. Something else happened. York came back from heaven to save the day, which was great.
Right.
So
I like that.
Like
I really like that.
I don't.
That's the best ex machina in fiction ever.
It is hard to piece together all the things. A ton of things happen, but it seems like there's fewer characters than in Deadly Premonition.
It did seem like that, just from you telling me. Yes,
it's just,
and it doesn't seem as they're as loud and
they're not as loud and they're
quirky.
And you can like they have like one quest and you can forget about them.
Right.
And
it doesn't have the mythology of the first game.
Yeah. It's kind of like when I opened this talking about the world's end for a reason. Like at the end of that movie, it basically perfectly mirrors the first that opening story, but through a wacky lens.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically just you know what, Zach? I lost my train of thought. Maybe we should get back to the investigation.
That is a perfect place to end this. Guys, if you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. Stay away from red seeds.
Yeah.
Do not take the red seeds. Forrest Kaysen will charm you. He's a charming fella.
He is a very charming
He's a very nice guy.
Hey, he got a very attractive woman into bed.
Oh my gosh, Don, that is very out of character for you. I like that joke.
Yeah.
I like that. Guys, Don has promised us a maybe for doing Deadly Premonition, and those are a maybe's very bold words, as we know for Don. Guys, we got links to all of our stuff, as always. I'm kind of drained after that. Like,
yeah, I am.
So tune in next week where maybe we'll do Deadly Premonition.
Maybe.
So anyway, check us out, guys.